Hello viewers, and welcome back to History and Stories. We often believe that modern technology is the pinnacle of human intelligence. But what if I told you that 2,000 years ago, an ancient civilization had already built something that wouldn't be reinvented for another millennium? Today, we are diving into a discovery that has baffled the world's greatest scientists. A machine that emerged from the shadows of time to prove that our history is not a straight line, but a series of forgotten loops. Prepare yourselves, because today, we uncover the secrets of the Antikythera Mechanism, the world's first computer. Let's begin. Spring, 1900. The Aegean Sea. A group of Greek sponge divers was heading home when a massive storm forced them to take shelter near a tiny, rocky island called Antikythera. They didn't know it yet, but they were standing on top of a secret that had been buried for 2,000 years. A secret that would challenge everything we know about human history. Elias Stadiatis, one of the divers, plunged 150 feet into the dark, icy water. Minutes later, he surfaced, trembling with fear. He gasped for air and told his captain, "There are dead people everywhere. A heap of rotting corpses on the seafloor." The captain thought the pressure had driven Elias mad. But when he went down himself, he realized the corpses weren't human. They were massive, life-sized bronze and marble statues, remnants of a Roman treasure ship that sank in 60 BC. A ship filled with gold, jewels, and something impossible. For 2 years, the world stared in awe at the statues and jewelry recovered from the wreck. But, in a corner of the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, a small, calcified lump of bronze sat ignored. It looked like a piece of worthless junk, a rusted rock, covered in seashells. On May 17, 1902, archaeologist Valerio Staes noticed something strange. The rock had cracked open, and inside, shining through the corrosion, was a gear. A precision-cut, bronze gear, with tiny teeth. Staes was horrified. Why? Because in 1902, the world believed that 2,000 years ago, humans didn't even have the tools to cut a gear this perfect. The history books say that complex clockwork wasn't invented until the 14th century. But here it was, an object from the time of Julius Caesar that looked like it belonged in a NASA laboratory. Scientists called it the Antikythera Mechanism. But soon, it would earn a new name. The world's first computer. But how is that possible? History is a neat, organized timeline, or so we were told. We are taught that humans moved from simple stone tools to complex machines over thousands of years. The Antikythera Mechanism didn't just break that timeline. It shattered it. Standard history books claim that complex, clockwork, and differential gears only appeared in Europe around the year 1350. That is, 1,400 years after this ship sank. Finding this device in 60 BC is the equivalent of finding a Victorian-era steam engine inside an Egyptian pyramid. It simply shouldn't be there. When archaeologists first saw these rusted fragments, some thought it was a hoax. They believed it must have fallen from a modern ship by accident. But, as they cleaned the bronze, the truth emerged. Inside this wooden box, about the size of a mantel clock, were at least 30 interlocking bronze gears. It was a sophisticated mathematical engine. It had a front dial and 2 back dials, covered in over 3,000 Greek characters, essentially a user manual, carved into metal. By turning a single hand crank on the side, a user could move the entire known universe in their hands. In an age where most of the world thought the Earth was flat, someone had already built a portable, high-precision simulator of the solar system. This is where it gets truly terrifying for modern science. To build this, the creator needed to know the exact metonic cycle, a 19-year period where the sun and moon returned to the same relative positions. But they went even deeper. The mechanism actually accounted for the elliptical orbit of the moon, the fact that the moon speeds up and slows down as it moves around the Earth. This is a highly advanced concept that we thought was only discovered by Johannes Kepler in the 17th century. So, the question isn't just how they built it with basic tools, but who gave them the math? How did a civilization with no telescopes and no electricity calculate the movements of the planets with 99% accuracy? For decades, the device remained a mystery, because nobody wanted to break it open and destroy the last surviving piece of ancient genius. But in 2005, technology finally caught up. An specialized 8-ton X-ray machine was brought from London to Athens. As the first 3D scans appeared on the monitors, the room went silent. The X-rays sliced through 2,000 years of calcium and corrosion, revealing the skeleton of a machine that was even more complex than we imagined. It wasn't just gears. It was a labyrinth. We found gears within gears, differential systems, that wouldn't be reinvented for another millennium. The scans revealed that the device could track the movements of the 5 planets known to the Greeks: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It predicted solar and lunar eclipses, down to the specific hour, and even the color of the shadow that would cover the moon. It even tracked the ancient Olympics, a master clock, for a civilization far more advanced than we ever dared to believe. A machine this perfect doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It requires a genius that only comes once in 1,000 years. For decades, historians have whispered one name: Archimedes of Syracuse. Archimedes was the Leonardo da Vinci of the ancient world. Ancient Roman records actually mention that Archimedes had built a planetarium that could mimic the motions of the planets. For centuries, historians thought this was just a myth. But then, we found the Antikythera Mechanism. Suddenly, the myth became reality. But here is the problem. Archimedes died in 212 BC, but the ship that carried this device sank in 60 BC, nearly 150 years later. This means one of two things. Either this was a priceless antique owned by a rich Roman, or there was a hidden school of master builders, an ancient Silicon Valley, that existed 2,000 years ago, hidden from the eyes of history. If they were building computers in 60 BC, why did it stop? Why didn't they reach the moon by the year 500 AD? Something happened. A reset that deleted this knowledge from the face of the earth. Imagine you found a smartphone in a medieval castle. That is exactly what this is. After the Antikythera ship sank, the knowledge of complex gears simply vanished. For the next 1,400 years, humanity forgot how to build anything like this. It's as if a massive delete button was pressed on human intelligence. The Antikythera Mechanism is more than just a rusted artifact. It is a warning. It proves that progress is not guaranteed. We like to think that we are the peak of human intelligence, but 2,000 years ago, someone was already calculating the stars with gears we couldn't understand for centuries.
If such a massive leap in technology could be lost and forgotten for 1,400 years, what does that say about our own world? Just as we discussed the God particle at CERN, could the Antikythera be proof that our history isn't a straight line, but a series of loops? Perhaps we have reached this level of technology before, only to be wiped out and forced to start again from zero. But if our history can be deleted, can also be changed? If we can forget a 2,000-year-old computer, can we also forget the reality we lived in? Next time, we investigate a mystery that will make you question your own memory, a phenomenon where millions of people remember a history that never happened. Next time, we open the files of the Mandela Effect. Is someone changing our past while we sleep? Don't miss the next chapter of History and Stories. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The truth is closer than you think.